thought we might spend a little more time sort of looking at concretes, because why not? Right now we have my non-hydraulic concrete, which essentially set up by carbonation. Actually, you know what? This is my non-hydraulic concrete right here that's set up by carbonation. This is about 8 or 9 days in, and it's getting pretty hard. This is my hydraulic concrete made with cement that I baked in my big can. And this first one that I did, of course, was my attempt to make a hydraulic cement that didn't work. Now I'm going to intentionally make a cement which is not hydraulic. This is essentially a form of lime mortar, and all you really do is take your lime, mix it with another ingredient. I believe that the pronunciation is pozzolan, and a pozzolan is just a silicaceous material that will combine with the lime, and then what you do is you allow the lime to harden by carbonation, and the pozzolan kind of comes along with it. So it's just going to take several days. In fact, it actually takes about 3 months for this to reach its hardest possible state. We probably won't wait that long, but we'll certainly give it a number of days. The proportions seem to be a little bit different. We'll use 1, 1, and 1, so 1 lime, 1 of my iron ore, and then 1 of my aggregate. The other thing we're not going to do is we're not going to get it as wet. It appears to work. Now this is all based on research on the interwebs and watching other people make this stuff on YouTube, but it seems to work better if you just kind of get it to a slightly workable consistency and then ram it up and let it harden, which means a lot less water than I've been using in my other mixtures. So let's just knead it up a bit until it gets to a nice dry-ish workable consistency, and then we'll ram it up and let it go. I think that's about all I want to go for. Just kind of mushy, not too wet. All right, let's let that go for a week. This is my pozzolan material, which I unmolded 3 days after I formed it up. It's really quite sturdy. The interesting thing, of course, is the top seems to be better formed than the bottom. I think because I started adding a little more water as I kept putting it in. This is my non-hydraulic concrete, still hardening from the top and the bottom. It's nowhere near as tough as this pozzolan. One of the things I note is that the pozzolan material has a lot more lime in it. This is 1/9 cement, and half of that cement is lime, the other half is iron ore, so it's 1/18 lime, whereas this is 1/3 lime. It's got 9 times as much lime in it. 9 times? 6 times. 6 times as much lime in it, which may be the reason why it's hardening more quickly, but it needs a little time in the air to see what it'll do. So we'll just leave that out. We'll come back and see what it looks like later. I think I have a pretty definitive answer that this stuff does not turn to concrete when you dry it out. Although, of course, the phrase does give one ideas. So I think what we'll do is go ahead and break this stuff up for an hour or two. And then even though it didn't make concrete spontaneously, we might see if we can make it through persuasion. Try one more pozzolan type concrete. And then we'll do a little summary. Odd how weird this stuff smells. So this will be a pozzolan type of concrete. It's 1/3 lime, 1/3 pozzolan, and 1/3 this stuff. So let's let that set up for a week or so and see what we get. Let's put a cap on the various concretes that I made during this evolution. So this is my first concrete. This is made with my very first version of cement, which turned out to be a non-hydraulic cement because this thing took multiple days to set up. It's not very strong. This was made with the combination 1 part cement, 2 parts sand, 3 parts aggregate. So it's essentially got 1/12 of this is made of lime. This is my second concrete. This one was a hydraulic concrete because it set up in about 2 hours. Unfortunately, it's exceedingly weak. Again, 1 part cement, 2 parts sand, 3 parts aggregate. So clearly, no, not acceptable. This was my first pozzolan concrete. I made this with 1 part iron ore, 1 part hydrated lime, and 1 part aggregate. So it took 5 days to really assume any kind of hardness, and it's about 3 weeks old, and it's pretty hard. So that's a success. I then went back and redid my hydraulic concrete using a higher proportion of cement. This is the same cement, but it's 2 parts cement, 1 part sand, and 3 parts aggregate. So it's 1/3 cement instead of 1/6 cement. And it hardened up very quickly. In fact, I had extra, and in the time it took me to get one of my other molds, I poured this from the top like this, and it had already hardened. This stuff hardened in minutes. In fact, it hardened too quickly. And it turns out that commercial concretes actually have gypsum in them to slow down the hardening. So this is clearly a nice hydraulic concrete. I don't think it's probably as strong as real concrete or commercial concrete, but not a bad product. And then lastly, I made another pozzolan concrete, and this one was just made with the stuff that I skimmed off the top of the rock tumbler, dried it out, and then added 1 part of that to 1 part aggregate and to 1 part of the calcium hydroxide, just because, frankly, I wanted to see what would happen. Slaked lime, calcium hydroxide. I wanted to see what would happen. And so there you go. Again, a very respectable pozzolanic type of concrete. So there's 2 pozzolan concretes. Both times, the first time I tried to make a pozzolan concrete, I made it. So I'm starting to think maybe there isn't that much mystery around pozzolan after all. Everybody seems excited about the Romans because they used a volcanic ash as their pozzolan mixture, but it appears you can mix it with just about anything, and it does seem to work. So anyway, I'm going to give these things a month. I want them to get nice and hard. I have a couple of thoughts about what I might do with these in the future. But for now, let's call that an episode. Please feel free to like and subscribe if you want, or if you don't want, that's fine too. Tell your friends. Again, if they're not interested, that's okay. Other than that, thank you very much for watching, and have a great day. These 2 are going in the trash.